Welcome back to the Sioux City Show. My name is Taylor Grote. This is Drew Hanson in the studio with me today. Drew is the pastor from Rally Point Church, and we're going to try and talk about like what's going on in the Christianity world.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Drew. So what have you been up to? I worked with you previously. We did like a little bit of kickoff stuff for Rally Point when it first started in Sergeant Bluff, but now you're moving downtown, right?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I just love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And for real, like when I've always like admired what you're doing. I have like this is probably a weird question to ask, but like, have you ever taken the disc profile?
Disc profile.
Yeah. So like there's like a dominant, you use your imagination. The other two are like very into the details.
No, I have like a aptitude test or like a personality test.
Yeah, kind of tells you like what you're into. Like you have a dominant personality or like more of like creative ideas or whatever. But I don't know. I just appreciate like even this stuff, like being able to be like, hey man, like I see an open room. We can make this look cool because that's basically what we've had to do, and just look at stuff and say, okay, how can we make this ours? And I just appreciate it, like coming from kind of a different world, but I just appreciate all of it. So,
thanks, man. You guys are doing something completely different too, in like the world of like in the church space, which is, I grew up Catholic, so that's a very specific type of church that is doesn't lend itself to progression or fun ideas very much. So. And that, like, I guess what kind of started everything I'm doing here is that I worked in TV and I worked in radio, and I just kind of felt like everything you guys are doing is wrong. There's different, not wrong, but like there's definitely different ways to do this, and I like wanted to explore different ways to do it. So, and like someday I'm gonna give people a tour of
you should
this whole space here.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. But I feel like the same kind of thing is just with the church world. Like there's everybody has their thing, traditional, non-traditional, whatever, and that's fine. And we support all of those, lanes. But we just feel like there's something missing in Sioux City, something that like, is just very non-traditional, something that's just not, because we did a Percept report, basically just looked at the religious climate of the community. It's 46,000 people either don't believe in God or don't go to church.
Interesting.
I mean, that's almost half the population, of the metro area. And so it did a 5-mile radius around Sioux City. So I just thought that was interesting and how people got there, and like, okay, so is like a traditional set something that is going out, or is it staying, and is there a space for a non-traditional church to come in and actually do some good? So that's kind of where we came in.
What's been your experience so far with everything going on?
Oh, it's basically, you'd think a lot of people would think, well, the young people will like it. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing. Like young people, like that's actually not true. That doesn't matter so much as their religious experience in church. So some people might feel like they're leaving their family if they don't go to their specific denomination or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And we get that. We understand that. But it's kind of across the board. So we've had people come in and kind of join our launch team, our core team, and say, hey, we want to help out. And then they said, it's not really for us. And we've kind of blessed them, if you want to use that churchy language, and said, hey, go ahead. You have our blessing. Leave, and we'll help you find another church, because there's plenty of good churches in town or the surrounding area. Right. So, we support that too, but we just feel like there's a spot for people that would never darken the door of a church building. They feel like if they walked into church on Sunday morning, they're going to burn up. Mm-hmm. And that's my heart. I guess we can start, like I was at a wedding, and I had just got done performing the wedding. We were at the reception, and I'm at a urinal, and a guy, I can feel him staring at me, and it's super awkward. And he finally just looks at me and says, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Well, I'm going to the bathroom, man. I got to take a leak." Yeah. He said, "No, why are you a pastor? Why do you work at a church? It seems like you're wasting your life. You seem like a cool guy. Why would you do this?" And that conversation, from then till when we started the church, he's always in my head. He's like, how could he feel that way about me and about the God and about the church? Like, because he was me. Yeah. Like, he had kids my age. He was into the same stuff as I was. And so I just feel like my heart goes out for those kind of people that maybe don't understand or don't feel like they have a place to call home because of one specific thing or the other, So
yeah. So what are you guys doing differently? Because I've heard like great things. I've been to a service before. I've heard from other people that you guys have you're running a great different opportunity for people who are looking for something different in the church space.
Right.
So like, what are you guys doing differently to change things up? I guess.
I mean, I think a lot of it's pragmatic, and some of it's what we like to say is and a lot of churches would agree with us is that no book but the Bible, no creed but Christ. So that's nothing new. We're just looking at the Bible and we're saying, okay, we're not letting anything else influence it. Whatever God says we're going to do, that kind of thing. I think a lot of it is, we're moving downtown to a bar. So a lot of people, we're fighting a lot of barriers there as far as traditionalism. Like, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. You have to have crosses everywhere. You have to have pews. You have to have a certain color carpet.
Right.
You have to have all that kind of stuff. And so we've said, hey, change is our tradition, and tradition, and so we've just taken that mantra, like, change is our tradition, and our tradition is change, mm-hmm. and just said, let's just switch it up. And so we haven't really switched up. We're still studying the Bible, still walking through what God has for us there, but it's more like, okay, let's look through the eyes of someone that has never been to church before or is an outsider, and how do they view church? So when they walk in, what's going to be familiar to them, and what's not going to make them like want to throw up?
Yeah.
And so I'll just be honest with you. I have like a real like bend towards like, I've just been in the church world too much. So like K-Love, I'm sorry, K-Love people, sorry. I just can't do it. It just seems too over the top, too like forced and cheesy. So like, we just say, hey, what are the like top 20 songs on the radio? So when people are walking in, that's what it is. And, it's nothing explicit. It's just, hey, we're going to play what people are used to hearing on the radio when they come in. And then like ESPN's on the wall. So, that whole conversation starting there was just, hey, I struggle sometimes just sparking up a conversation with somebody, but I can always go, hey, did you catch that game last night?
Right.
And so just all that kind of stuff, doing things differently, just how we do a service, we'll switch it up. We'll just change it up. We try to play stuff that try to play worship music that, isn't in the norm, probably more rock heavy than any other church would go here,
Right.
we try to get there. And tables and chairs. So like people walk in, there's no rows. We think life's done better in circles anyways. So, let's sit around a table instead of rows. See, all this stuff is like, it seems so like a facade, but for us, it's like, it's digging into something deeper, I think, than just like, oh, you just got tables and chairs and ESPN on. Like, that doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not too much different, but it is, I just think the whole setup is different than what like a more traditional church would have, and so we're trying to connect with people. Our whole conversation we've had with our leadership team and core team is like, how do we see church through the eyes of somebody that's never been to church before? Because I've got a niece, I've got several people in my family and friends that literally, they're from Sioux City, literally never been to church.
I dig that.
So
yeah. I mean, that's kind of that angle you got to come with. Like, if you're trying to do something different, you got to get the people who, I raised Catholic, so
right.
like I'm familiar with the space, right? But like,
right.
The people who have never been to church before, that's going to be a whole different. First of all, when they walk in, they're like, "Shit, is this what I want to do?"
yeah.
I think that it's important to like, I was just listening to the other day about people talking about how like spiritualism is the new religion, and somebody else in the conversation. I was listening to a podcast. There was a conversation that's being held without me inputting it, and somebody else in the conversation said like, I don't think that there's a lack of religion. It's just been rebranded as spiritualism, but people are still just as drawn towards looking for a power higher than themselves, whether you want to call that God or Allah or Yahweh or the universe or the eternal force or karma, whatever the case is. Like, most people have a belief system that extends into the ethereal, I guess. So, you know, I think that regardless of people, if they want to like jump in feet first the first day and call them Christians or call themselves Christians, they're like looking for somewhere to find a sense of purpose, you know?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people want to belong to something that's bigger than themselves. They want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And I think, obviously, I think that Jesus is the way to do that. And he's gonna fulfill that. He's gonna give you purpose. He's gonna give you a new start, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where we've landed with all of it. As far as, you know, we know that people are looking. You know, I really do. I really think that people are looking for something, and I think that, you know, once you come in and we just say, hey, let's remove all the barriers.
Right.
You know, let's take away all the barriers so people can see Jesus for who he is. And then one of our values we like to say is, hey, trust the process. So we don't want you to come in and use all the Christian language, you know, start speaking Christianese and start, you know, immediately jumping in. We want you to like actually ask questions and jump, you know, like take a step maybe, and we'll celebrate that with you. Like, hey man, you took a step, you know, you're doing something to connect with God or God's people or whatever it is. And we want to lean into that, because I feel like it actually solidifies your faith because you've had time to think about it, rather than a lot of times we just say, hey, you're a Christian, you came to church a couple times, you're on the fence about it, go ahead, jump in and get baptized, and we'll define spirituality by these 5 words that you can say and define them, and then just go ahead. And God's really not actually transformed anything. He's just you know, you're just speaking the language and got pushed into it. And that's been my experience with a lot of places. Like, we'll just push you into it. Yeah. Maybe not. I mean, that's just across the board. I haven't always done ministry here. So, you know, I just want to say, like, I love what a lot of churches are doing here. So this is never going to be like, hey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like, dude, that's the thing too, is that you go to like any church and like literally any church, it doesn't even have to be Christian. And like 95% of the people in there are going to be good people. Just because, like, that's the type of, honestly, the type of person who dedicates themselves to like a church is usually like a person who lives their life by a moral compass, or they're the BTK killer, you know, but like, I always had a problem when I was growing up that like, I found I'm a big, maybe a flaw in myself is that I'm like, I can't stand hypocrisy, right?
Yeah.
And there was so many times growing up where I'm at like CCD on a Wednesday night, and you know, and it's like these people that are like constantly preaching to me a holier than thou message, and they're giving like all of this, you know, like I'm the authority on this.
Yeah,
I'm the voice of moral reason because I'm the person who's teaching at the CCD, or I'm the person who's involved in the church program. And it's like, no, not really. Like, you're just saying all of the church things. You're just like regurgitating the lines from the Bible. And like, honestly, like, so we had this dude that was teaching us at one point that was just like super homophobic, and he'd say like horrible shit about gay people all the time. And I remember even being in like the 3rd grade or whatever, and being like, really? Really? Like, I thought the whole point of being a Christian is that we're like supposed to be like
love everybody.
Like, like at least at the very least nice, you know, like not like, because it was always like, oh, remember it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And then like when you're in 3rd grade, you don't even know what the hell that means. You're like, I guess whatever, you know, this guy said it. But then I remember having the feeling that like it all kind of just felt corny to me. Like, not corny in the sense of like, oh, people who believe in God are lame, but these people who are touting themselves as these voices of authority or reason or whatever, but living and acting in a different way in all things besides saying the Christ-like things. Yeah, it's corny. You know, it's a hypocritical. Yeah, it's hypocritical behavior, and I just couldn't stand it. So it like immediately turned me off, you know, from like a younger age.
And that's exactly my experience. In a lot of ways is do as I say, not as I do kind of attitude. And then, you know, the same way with you know. So I just think what we've done because that's always been in the back of my mind too. Is like we don't want to end up in a place where we're pointing fingers instead of putting our arms around people. Mm-hmm. And so what we've been saying up until launch here is, me too.
Well, that's got a different connotation these days.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it definitely does.
Like I've been there too, kind of.
Yeah, been there too. Like, so when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I'm really going through something right now," I've been there. Let me put my arm around you and say, "Hey, everything's, we'll get through this together." That is a better, like we say, like everybody has a piece of a map. Mm-hmm. We have, maybe see God a little differently, a different perspective through Scripture, all that stuff. And so we're saying, hey, we've all got a piece of this with our gifts, our abilities, all that stuff. Let's kind of, one body, put it together and see where it ends up. So we just said, hey, me too, man. I've been through that. No judgment here. Mm-hmm. But we also say, hey, we're not going to affirm everything. We're going to say, hey, let's walk through it.
Yeah.
Because, I think Jesus loves you more than just to leave you where you're at. So, if you got something going on in your life, I think it's a Christian's responsibility to say, hey, let me help you out with that, but not in let me go through and get on my phone and read you like 4 different scriptures of how you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. Because you know what? Those people already know that.
Right.
They've already been there. They already feel guilty. We don't need to tell people how guilty they are already because they already know that. So let's tell them about let's find a way out.
I feel like the average person walking into church for the first time isn't walking in because they're like, things are going great.
Yeah, exactly.
Things are going so good. I need to find a different perspective to look at this from. It's usually going to be a low point in the average person's life if they're walking in for the first time kind of deal. They're coming back after years away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's all fun to talk about church.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really fun. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah,
but
I got you.
What's your background? Like, what brought you into, you're a young guy. I think the average person will look at you like, oh, you're a young guy.
Yeah.
So
that I don't fit the normal pastor
I'm also,
mode.
like Catholic. You're not wearing a collar, that kind of deal. So like, what got you into like this route for a career?
Man, well, I tried to dodge it as much as possible, which is like part of that story. Like I'd never just jumped in feet first and, until I was in my early 20s really. And so, what's interesting is I grew up in a home that was just very apathetic. So nobody cared. My family didn't care. They didn't go. It was just I didn't think anything of it. And then I got invited to church down in my hometown and started going. And then I just didn't stop going. It was just kind of weird. And, so I kind of grew up in the church, but didn't have any family in the church. So I brought myself, which was great because a lot of times what you have is a lot of family members or children, they live on the faith of their parents. Mm-hmm. Like, well, why do you go to church? Why do you believe? Well, my parents taught me. Well, I didn't have that same perspective. I kind of just slowly took steps towards, Jesus and what just reading in the Bible and reading scripture and saying, let me ask questions about this. Let me try to figure it out. And so I felt like it was a little different perspective than a lot of people growing up in the church. So I was like at Thanksgiving potlucks and stuff, looking across at everybody else's family or eating with a family. And it was kind of like, it's kind of weird, And so then I went to school and tried to play basketball and tried to do something and just never felt right. I felt like I should have done something different and kind of went in a different lane as far as, exploring this church thing out, as far as working at a church or whatever you want to call it. It's hard to not sound really churchy, talking about this stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, just working at a church or being a pastor or whatever that meant, I didn't know. So I actually loved what you guys were doing, like video editing, all that stuff. So I thought I'd go to college and do video editing and then do that and play basketball, and that didn't work out. So I...
Probably for the better. Video editing is not.
Yeah, right.
Everybody go be a video editor today. Like it's something you really have to want to do this.
Yeah, and I probably wasn't the best at it, So it's one of those things. So it probably didn't work out anyways. But then I transferred down to a school in Joplin, Missouri called Ozark Christian College, and went to school there. And I thought, hey, I'll go down there, but I want to compromise a little bit, God. I know you're trying to pull me this way, but I'll do video editing at Missouri Southern because it's in the same town. Like I'll try to figure out a way to fit my plans into what God had for me. Mm-hmm. And over time, it just didn't work. And so I ended up going down there and finishing school, and then getting a job in Southeast Kansas for a number of years and doing youth ministry. And that's what really, kind of set me on this course. And so, yeah, it's weird to think back on some of that stuff now, because I haven't thought about that part of the journey in a while,
Yeah. So I mean, like, also, I'm not coming from like the Protestant world where you can do something like start your own church, Mm-hmm. So what kind of gave you that initial drive to like not only go and you have a degree in theology or?
Yeah, it's a Bible
studies.
Yeah, Christian ministry degree. So basically, we don't we study theology, but what I like about Ozark is they just go through books of the Bible. Oh, and like, okay. let me teach you about the Bible. And then, of course, there's leadership classes and all that stuff, but a lot of places will say, here's systemic theology 101. Let me teach you about the overarching piece of, and you need that, but you also just like, let's read the book of Romans.
Human connection.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where all that fell in. So
sweet. So sorry, this is just Bible studies got me thinking. When I was in high school, as a senior, like the Sioux City Journal does a thing where like if you get a scholarship, your guidance counselor comes to you and says like, okay, you have to fill out this questionnaire for the journal, and it was like scholarship, college you're attending, and what your major is going to be. And I like got a scholarship, so I said scholarship, attending the University of Iowa, and then I thought it'd be funny and enter women's studies for my major. And my grandpa thought it was hilarious, but the few other family members weren't as impressed by it. In the school, the top brass in the school weren't super excited about that move. But I stand by that decision. Okay, put that down. But anyways, I guess something that also that I was thinking about is the more we move into like a social media world, a tech heavy world, is like the more you see a retreat from like the idea of traditional community, or the idea of like, I live in a pretty like mixed neighborhood, and it's a lower income neighborhood. So like it's the type of neighborhood where kids still play outside. Like everybody's outside in my neighborhood all the time playing football in the front yard and that kind of stuff. But I go to like friends' houses, parents' houses, that kind of stuff, and that are in like nicer neighborhoods. Everybody's garage set. Like there's not kids outside. There's not the parent. When I was growing up, like all the kids, everybody on the block was outside all the time. All the parents every Friday and Saturday night were having like little fires in their front driveway on those little fire pits and stuff. And like that is just becoming less and less and less common now. Yeah. So, and I know you grew up in Whiting, and like just the commonality between Whiting and Sergeant Bluff. Like we had one friend in common, and like the amount of people I know in Whiting, and the amount, just from like the times I went down there, and like conversely, the time if you probably had the same situation in Sergeant Bluff, like it's a pretty quick town when you're from a small town. It's pretty easy to get to know a lot of people really quick. The Whiting 4th of July parade.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Former egg toss champion, but I don't want to brag too much.
What is sad is like, I know that. Yeah. Like and I guess it's not sad, but like, someone's selling a car in town. I know who's selling the car. Yeah. I know who's still there, and so, it does make you rethink how you're doing church. Yeah. And the other thing is, is that a hill you die on? Mm-hmm. So do we say, hey, no, we're just gonna lean in and say, you know what, like this is part of it, is like you have to be here. Otherwise, like there's a part of church and connecting with God's people. When I say God's people, I mean people, right? God made all of us. Like when you connect with everybody, like that means something. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have that, and you don't have people patting you on the back and saying, hey, keep it up, you got stuff going on, God's good, remember that. I think you kind of lose sight. You can lose sight of what the end goal is, you know. And I think back to a passage where it says, "Hey, farmer, has got to keep his eye on the tree, because if you look back, you're not fit for the harvest. Don't look back. And it's pretty easy to look around when you're by yourself in isolation. And so do you make people show up? Or make people in a very loose term, like, do you encourage that, or do you say, hey, let's lean into the social media world and try to foster community that way, whether it's like, Twitch or PlayStation Network or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And I think the answer to that is both.
Right. Have you been doing anything, like, as far as like a live broadcast of the church service or something along those lines?
No, we haven't really done that yet. I don't think we're ready for any of that. It just takes another level of volunteerism that we're just not there yet. I mean, we have a lot of great volunteers. It's just not there yet. And so one of the things we said early on is, if we're going to do it, we want to do it well. So, that limits your things, because, you get too spread too thin, you can't do everything, at least, so it's not embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so we never wanted it to be a distraction. So we haven't done that yet, but, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg with this service. I think that's more like the front door of the church now, where people come and check you out on social media and say, hey, I want to decide if I want to come here once or not. But I think as far as community, that looks like, I'm talking about like PlayStation Network or Twitch or stuff like that. I think there's something there, because people get on that. I know friends that are that are in their 30s, playing Fortnite every night, talking to the same dudes, playing the same time. That's community. And, I think that's the same as guys getting on motorcycles and riding, because I guarantee you, at the end of the day, they're saying, so it's not just video games, it's not just motorcycles. It's like, so what's going on? That's community. And what else do you need? That's the thing I think a lot of churches kind of get off in the weeds a little bit about, is that it's always like Jesus plus all this stuff. Yeah. And it's like, well, let's start with community. What else do we need but just a couple guys or a couple of women or, whatever it is?
A group of people.
Yeah, a group of people, yeah. I don't know.
I feel you.
Yeah. So I think that I can't wait until we're at a place where we can kind of even venture out into some of those worlds a little bit more, with just a more solid base of volunteers, and saying, hey, what are you gifted at? What do you like? Okay, let's turn it into something that we can do. And I think that's kind of where we started. We looked at everybody's gifts. We say, okay, what do you like to do? You got the gift of craftsmanship. Okay. You got the gift of mercy, whatever. Okay. Whatever it is. All right, let's not force my ideas on you. I didn't come down like Moses, come down with the 10 Commandments and say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I said, as a group, what do you guys think God has for Sioux City with this church? And so I think that collective experience has kind of helped shape who we are as a church, because I wouldn't necessarily take us down some of these lanes, but God's done a lot of good things with it. So,
So what's the move now?
So, man, there's a lot on the table, just as far as, moving. We got a grand opening September 15th at Rocks and Rails. So, we're hoping to just get a good launch and just see people experience a service, experience what we're doing. And then we're looking for partners, honestly. We're looking for partners to
in the sense of like people or businesses or
anything,
sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking for is, hey, where can we do have a large group of our people have the gift of craftsmanship. Where we got a lot of people that want to dig in, and so just trying to find those opportunities that aren't, let me hand out water bottles. Yeah, like I love that. There's churches that should do that, but that's not us. So like, trying to find that lane, saying, hey, downtown, we're still really new. So it's like trying to introduce ourselves and trying to cleanse their palate from maybe another church experience or just their idea of a church. And so trying to say, no, like, trust me, all I have to say now is we meet in a bar, and people are like, like, okay, like we can maybe deal, and so that's just a fight that we're willing to go into and saying, hey, we're looking for partners. So whether it's we've called a number of places and it just hasn't been quite the right fit. So we basically have a vision template that says, okay, in the next 5 years we want to do this. The next 3 years we want to do this. The next 1 year we'd love to be a part of this. And then in the next 120 days we'll know things are going well if this, and this happen. Mm-hmm. So that's one of them. It's like, hey, we love to get 1 or 2 partners in that downtown community where we're going to be, and saying, hey, how can we best serve the community? Mm-hmm. Whether that's, one of the elementary schools down there, or even one of the business had an opportunity and saying, hey,
mm-hmm. Well, I think at the very least, welcome to the downtown business community. But honestly, I'm one of those people that I think that there is a responsibility that comes with owning and operating something in the downtown area of Sioux City, because it's a place that, depending on how you look at it, in some places the word blight might be appropriate.
Sure.
And this, as much as people who maybe don't make it downtown much, or maybe don't make it to the west side over here much, they might not be familiar with the kind of poverty and homelessness that is prevalent, or that exists in Sioux City, Right. And I think that there is as much as whatever message people want to take away from Christianity, I think that one of the things that all humans should strive for is helping those who are less fortunate. I think that people like you and I should at least take stock of the blessings that we've been given in terms of things that we didn't work for, being born healthy, being born able to do things that we've done, right?
Yeah.
So, at the very least, that's an opportunity for anybody operating in downtown, that there is a sense of responsibility that comes with not maybe privilege isn't the word, but but the ability to you guys are everybody who attends the church is able to get to church. Everybody who goes to church has the means to dress themselves for church, that kind of thing.
Right.
So just the things you can do for other people in the area is always a thing to keep in mind,
Yeah. And so we've just taken an approach hey, somebody wants to come in and has been coming in and been involved, and say, okay, what opportunities are you seeing that we can get involved in, that kind of thing. And so the other thing about it is, for us, it makes it a little bit harder because what we've attracted so far is a lot of people that haven't been to church.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted, mm-hmm. and it's great, but they're still trying to figure it out. So they're not necessarily let's get after it, man. This is more hey, I gotta make sense of this on some level, before I just start doing stuff. So that's been a little different because they're just finding their place where we're at, as far as I'm getting involved. I come every week. That's a huge step, and then I might play in the band, or I might be on the hello team, or something, work with the kids. And so we celebrate that, but I think now the next step is for us to say, hey, okay, instead of looking so inward and trying to do the best service, honestly, there's tons of churches in town that have a really, really good service, and I wish we could do what they do on, mm-hmm. We'll just never. We might get there someday, but I wish we would. I wish we had all that now. But what I do know we have now is people with gifts of craftsmanship and mercy that want to just get out there and mm-hmm. and help people, and so that's what energizes them. And so we're just looking for opportunities downtown, anywhere. We've only been downtown for 3 weeks, so it was kind of off the radar, and God just kind of popped it up in front of us, all right, let's do that. I think that's something that's missing. It's something that's so different. It's not non-traditional. When you think church, you don't think anything like this. So let's try to stay in that lane, and let's lean into that lane as far as possible, because it's really easy, especially in the church world, to say, hey, and if you're work at a church, you listen to this ever, or you guys will know what I'm talking about. You say, oh, what's that church doing down the street, or what's that church doing across America, what are they doing really well, and how can we replicate it? And this like imposter syndrome of like, oh man, we gotta do exactly what they're doing because that's what's creating the success.
You gotta go full Joel Osteen and get yourself a private plane, dude.
Yeah, so maybe I should start whipping people with jackets and stuff, Benny Hinn style. Yeah,
whatever you want to do.
Yeah. So the thing for me is, I think that we want to be as us as possible. So that's and that's taken a minute to trying to sift through and say, okay, who are we really? Because you have an idea when you start something, you probably kind of have the same idea, like who you want to be, and then what opportunities become available kind of changes what you think you might be or what you might turn into. And
sometimes I'm just like, shit, I got so many things going on, maybe I'll just take a nap. So more often than not, I just nap. But I totally see where you're coming from, and I would appreciate it if you don't turn this into a cult. So don't do that. But my last question for you is, what do you think is something in Sioux City or the Siouxland area that everybody should know about that you love? The most slept on in Sioux City.
The most slept on?
Man.
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to go then. There is... I know I've sang the praises of La Momia before on 11th in Nebraska, but today I just want to give a special shout out to the Wet Burrito at Taco Saguaro on Pearl Street and 6th Street. I think they just opened another location in Hinton. They're opening another location in North Sioux, and they're someday, if they ever get around to it, are opening a location on like West 7th or Villa, whatever it's called at that intersection in Center Street right there. That's had a sign up for like 6 months now, but is still not open. And it's like within walking distance from my house, so it's killing me that it's not open. But that would be amazing if they opened it. And I love the Wet Burrito from there. So anybody listening, if you're hungry,
so I've listened to a couple of these. Do you have anything that's not food related?
Me?
That's not being slept on.
I did the Perry Creek Bike Trail before.
Okay.
I know I've done that. I've done hiking at Stone Park.
Okay.
I think Stone Park might be the number one most slept on thing in Sioux City because everybody, half of my friends have moved to Denver, and they're all like, "Oh, well, we can go hiking." I'm like, "Dog, you never went to Stone Park once, and you're talking about hiking there, and you got to drive 2 hours to go hiking." Shut up.
Honestly, I'll say this: grew up in this area, and then moved away from this area, and I can't tell you how many people said, "Man, I gotta get out of here." Like the definition of them arriving in society was them leaving, and I just want to say you're dumb, because I've lived away from here in a lot of different spots, and this I don't want to say it like this, but like it's not that bad.
With the exception of winter, Sioux City is great.
Yeah,
winter's the worst, but I like Sioux City a lot. So
I just there's so much to like about it, and just coming from a couple of the places we've been, it just feels like home for us. And like we said this before, just like I don't want to move anywhere else. I want to be here. Like I like Sioux City. Like this is kind of the forgotten part of Iowa. Like nobody really talks about it, but it's also for right now it's the 4th largest city in Iowa still. And so it's like, how do you sleep on the 4th largest city in your state?
Yep.
And I think it starts with us. And I think it's just like this stuff. Like let's like actually care about where we live. Like let's actually every time I have a conversation with somebody, well, it's Sioux City, the streets suck, we've got this, and it's like everybody's got a long list to connect about all the stuff that sucks. Let's can we just talk about something that's good for once? Like what's that? That's why I love that question. But like, and maybe that's where it stemmed from. But it just seems like everybody is like, no, we got to get out of here. I'm like, no, dude.
I was just talking to my buddy the other day, or like 2 days ago, about this. I was shooting a music video, and one of my buddies, Sifu the Sensei, was there, local rapper. And we got to talking about how in Sioux City, people like to say this thing like, oh, he's even good. He's really good. Like he's like really talented. Like you wouldn't believe he's from Sioux City.
Yeah.
And like people use that to like describe like 10 we were talking about rappers specifically,
Yeah.
like 10 rappers from Sioux City. Like you have, Sifu, you have Psychedelic Sidekick, you got Tay Groove, you got Warren Peace, Mario Tapia, you got Rev, you got the guys from Dad, like down the line,
Right.
keep going, that are all like, people go, oh, Jesus, he sounds like a real rapper. Like when they hear him, and it's like, no, he is. Like he's just from Sioux City, and then you even expand it out into the region, and it's like, Sioux City holds their own against any other city in the region, Omaha, or Sioux Falls, Kansas City, I guess, but
Yeah,
I
this is
wouldn't
getting a little too big
disrespect
for
Tech9
us.
that way, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like I just like the idea that people limit things or think that it's good for Sioux City. Like no, it's just good. Like you don't have to be self-deprecating all the time. Like you can respect where you're from and like really really be proud of where you're
because
from.
it's so different. It's so different than what people generally just from Iowa. So like if you travel, you've been around the country all over, you see somebody from Iowa, like, yeah, it's an instant connection. Like, I love Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the reasons we were living in Kansas. People told me we had to leave pretty much because you won't stop talking about Iowa. It's like, why is this corner of the state, like this part of the state that's like, yeah, we're from Iowa, but we're not the good part. And I'm like, no, I love this place, and I like I said, like I don't see a reason to, every place has a place where there's nothing to do. There's nothing going on. You know what? That's all relative. That is all relative to any part of the country. So quit saying that. Mm-hmm. Get off that horse you're riding on. Get another one. And my pastor in me wants to say repent of that and start talking. Find a couple of good things in town and celebrate that for a little while and see where it leads you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the very least, most cities don't have like. There's a unique opportunity in Sioux City that things are super cheap. That like a dipshit like me can like turn this into a video studio, turn this into a podcast studio off of like video work. And you got guys like Kelly Quinn who owns the Marquee and Marty's.
Sure,
He's got co-owners Mitch Martin and Mac and stuff. But like Kelly takes a specific pride in like creating cool local shows at downtown at the Marquee, and he also does all of the work like making sure that Brew City is happening at Marty's, making sure that they're bringing in people for Brewfest. Sean James is coming again this year on Matt. When's Brewfest? On October 5th this year. So that's another shout out. Attend. If you're interested in finding a church to go to at all, you need to go to
Rally Point,
and they're starting at Rocks and Rails on September 15th is the big launch downtown.
10:15.
Isn't that I thought you said September 15th.
No, it is, but the time.
Oh,
like you want to show up at 10:15 a.m.
October 15th. I was like, okay, so September 15th at 10:15 a.m. is the launch of Rally Point B2, moving downtown in Sioux City, and Drew is the pastor down there. He is the guy to talk to. He is a nice guy. I can vouch for him. And I really appreciated you coming down here. Check this out. Oh, I can only hear it through my headphones. Oh. But it's applause. Everybody's giving you a round of applause right now. But until next time, this has been the Sioux City Show. Thank you.